Everybody, Cashflow Kris here, taking on.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Cashflow Kris here at
What's up, everybody? Cashflow Kris with Investors Edge Real Estate Group here. All right, here we go. Welcome everybody back to the Leveling Up Book Club. We are in June 2020, one of the weirdest times in our history. We are in a club. It's called Limitless by Jim Kwik. This is the Leveling Up Book Club. This is where we read amazing books as a group and we implement them into our system, our business system. Read in the past, profit first, never split the difference. Plus, number one. Hey, Paul, could you mute yourself? Traction. If you're marketing, building a story brand is key. Make yourself better, compound effect. Get stuff off your plate, dynamic delegation. Another one to make yourself better, atomic habits. We just finished this one last month. This was a great one. I don't know why this is in my stack, but we should probably all read this one too. And the next one is Limitless. Rondell, join us. So we're gonna go over this. Last week we went over kind of just the basics of it. And I gave you guys an assignment. So hopefully that you read that first section, the first 3 chapters. There wasn't a whole lot of meat in the first part. So I'm sure we'll be getting a lot more in depth in the next. So before we get started, really quick, I kind of want you guys to know who's here. So if you can turn on your mic and your camera, do so. And let's run through really quick, 5-second. Who are you? Where are you from? What do you do? Pat, if you can unmute your first and then there you go.
Hey guys, Pat Barman, Cleveland, Ohio. I'm a real estate agent. And my girlfriend's here, her name's Jeannie.
Hi.
Hey, welcome. All right, how about Mike?
Hey, so I am from San Jose, California, the Bay Area. I'm a real estate wholesaler, pretty new to real estate wholesaling. And yeah, we're gonna learn and implement the books that we're reading.
Welcome, Bryce.
Hey, Bryce Burton. I'm from Columbus, Ohio. Firefighter here in Columbus, Ohio.
Ohio.
Excited to be here. I did not. This is my first one, so I did not actually get a chance to read the first 3 chapters, but I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys have.
Not a problem at all. Easy to follow along.
Can I ask
Raul or Min?
Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Scott in. It's Min from Texas, Houston, Texas. H-Town, hold it down. And I'm interning to become a real estate broker. Agent. And I'm also getting to trading.
Hey, welcome. Raul.
Raul Martinez from Phoenix, Arizona. I'm a finance manager by day, investor by night.
Beautiful. Paul. Elizabeth.
What's up? What's up, everybody? It's Paul over here. I'm from Phoenix, Arizona. I'm an Amazon Global Toy Distributor.
Hell yeah. Paul has read way more books than anybody I know. So you want to give back a book recommendation, he's the guy. Let's see, Elizabeth and then David, you're next.
Hi, everyone. I'm Elizabeth Navarrete, Houston, Texas. I am always a scholar. I don't know it all. I'm a real estate agent and also an investor, and I'm so happy to connect with everyone on this call.
Thanks, Elizabeth. David, and then ties up.
Hello, everyone. My name is David Carrizosa. I'm also in Phoenix, Arizona. Fun fact, I've known Paul since high school. Amazing guy. I know JT was on here earlier, known him since high school as well. That's how I met Kris, so I'm very thankful for that, Paul. Thank you. I am in business lending here in Phoenix, Arizona, and business consulting. Thank you.
Thanks, David. Ty, and then Stacy next.
Hey guys, good morning. I'm in Tucson, Arizona. I do credit repair and have some other businesses. Try to do wholesaling more full time. Glad to be here, looking to learn.
Welcome, Ty. Stacy, then DeAndre.
Hey everybody, I'm Stacy Melman. I'm here in Charlotte, North Carolina. This is, I think, my 3rd book with you guys, with Kris. I do wholesaling to bring in income, and I'm also an investor and have a few other projects I'm working on that have not been developed yet, and looking forward to reading the book.
Welcome, Stacy. So we got DeAndre, then we'll finish up with Rondell.
Hey, what's going on, y'all? This is DeAndre from Vallejo, California. Looking to do wholesaling and just looking to learn from everybody.
Welcome, welcome. How about Rondell? All right.
No problem. Guys.
Oh,
hey guys, it's Rondell. I'm here in Cleveland, Ohio. I'm a wholesaler and a buy and hold investor here for a little over 3 years. I haven't read any of the book actually. I just received the link earlier. I followed your page a while ago, and I appreciate that inbox to let me know you guys were getting on today. I'm looking to learn here. That's what it's all about.
Thanks for showing up, Rondell. I appreciate it. JT, why don't you tell everybody where you're from?
Sorry, still muted. From Detroit originally, live in Phoenix, East Valley area, in wholesaling and creative financing, and been in the book club for the last 2 books and really enjoy it. Love learning from all you guys, so thanks.
All right, and then I never want to forget my team. They're a little bit shy, so I'll introduce them. We got Jordan. He is our team lead. He runs all of our real estate investments, plus he runs my life as well. We got Eve and Maya. They're our specialists. They work with our investors as well as our tenants. And I don't see Maya here, but Maya, oh yeah, there's Maya. Maya does all the work, guys. This would not be happening if we didn't have Maya. She does all the slideshows. She does all the IG, Facebook. You guys are here because she invited you. I didn't. I don't have time. So awesome. That was good. Welcome. Let's get started. Okay. Once again, you're at the Leveling Up Book Club. We went over this last week, but a few reminders. This is where we're going to be every Friday, 10 a.m. Arizona time. It's always good to have a copy of the book during the discussion. Take your notes because it's very interactive. I want your guys' input and information. You know, I want your take on it. We're always going to be here live on Zoom. Thoughts and insights are encouraged. Please show up, no distractions, and have an open mind. As you guys know, June book of the month is Limitless. Last week we went over about the book, what we're going to learn. I don't want to do that twice. So chapter 1, free your mind. If an egg is broken by an outside force, life ends. If broken by an inside force, life begins. Great things always begin from the inside. So as you guys know, the ones who read it, the ones that didn't, don't worry about it. This is a really easy to catch on. The first section really didn't go over too much. It's easy to catch up. So, boy with a broken brain. In the real world, life was not very kind. Often when you put a label on someone or something, you create a limit. The label becomes the limitation. Asking the right question. So start wondering if you're asking the right question and know what is the real problem. Don't try to solve your learning problems by thinking the way you've been taught to think, just to work harder. What if you could teach yourself a better method to learn? What if you could learn in a way that was more efficient, effective, and even enjoyable? What if you could learn how to learn faster? So in the beginning of it, he talked about how he had a brain injury when he was young, and that did a large part of shaping his childhood. So on learning how to learn, he asks, how does my brain work so I can work my brain? That was the first quote that really stuck out to me in this book. How does my brain work so I can work my brain? Deep immersion into self-directed studies can make the ability to focus stronger. A new level of energy and curiosity may arise. Your daily life can change by knowing what to do to move forward and unlocked an empowering and sustainable sense of motivation. These results can change your mindset and can make you start to believe that anything is possible. Telling a child to do things like concentrate is like telling them how to play the ukulele. It's very difficult to do without ever being taught how. If knowledge is power, then learning is our superpower, and our capacity to learn is limitless. We simply need to be shown how to access it. Second. Okay. All right. So, unlimiting, the active process of casting aside inaccurate and restrictive perceptions of one's potential and embracing the reality that with the right mindset, motivation, and methods, there are no limitations. Becoming limitless is not about accelerated learning, speed reading, or having an incredible memory. You'll learn to do all that and more, but it's not about being perfect. It's about progressing beyond what you currently believe is possible. And this is the model here. A limit in your mindset. You entertain the low belief in yourself, and a lot of us our family like puts that into our brain. A limit in your motivation. You lack the drive, purpose, or energy to take action. And lastly, a limit in your methods. You were taught and are acting on a process that's not effective to create the results you desire. Does that resonate with anybody? So learn how to become limitless in your own way with a 3-part framework. This is what we're going to learn. We're going to learn about the mindset. We're going to learn about motivation. And then we're going to learn about the method, the specific process. So when we finish this book, we'll have the ability to be limitless in any area. Part 1, free your mind. Okay, so they talked about the 4 horsemen. This is when it started getting good, in my opinion. So for those of you who are only reading the book, if you listen to the book on Audible, it does kind of, I don't know if you guys listen to the David Goggins book, but in between chapters, he kind of talked with the writer, the ghostwriter, and the person who read the book, and they just kind of discussed and picked his brain. It was really cool. He does this at the beginning of each of these chapters. So if you want a little bit of a little more insight and a perspective from the author, you can do that. During that conversation, one thing that they said that caught my attention was changing got to get. So for those of you who didn't read it or are not sure what I'm talking about, is, a lot of us complain, and really we might not even be wanting to complain, but the way that our verbiage works, we are complaining, and it sets a negative connotation to what we're doing. So instead of I've got to take my kid to the park, I get to take my kid to the park. Instead of having to do something, you get to do that. And I don't know, I love little things like that, how one word can kind of just change the tone. It can change the feeling of it. Same with, I was taught in this one class to get rid of the word just. Be assertive. You're not just doing anything, you're doing it, right? I don't just want to ask a question, I want to ask a question. So little words like these. So think about changing got to get whenever you start complaining. All right, let's go back to it. All right, we all have incredible superpowers that are waiting to be awakened. I'm not talking about the ability to fly, create ironclad armor, or shoot lasers from your eyes, but real life practical abilities like flying through books, ironclad memory, laser focus, boundless creativity, clear thinking, mindfulness, superior mental attitude, and more. We are all superheroes in one way or another. So the 4 horsemen of our age, the 4 things that really, really hurt us. So number 1 is digital deluge. So let's see, some of the 4 horsemen are digital deluge, digital distraction, digital dementia, and digital deduction. So we'll talk about the first 2. Digital deluge is basically when you have just way too much information coming at you. Just sensory overload. We have just too much stuff coming in with the fast way that things work. It says, if we never let our mind wander or be bored for a moment, we pay a price: poor memory, mental fog, and fatigue. And this is something that's really affecting a lot of our kids. We really have to watch how much we let them get in front of a screen because they don't know any different. You know, our kids growing up, the only thing that they've ever seen is us on our phones. So they think that's what they're supposed to be doing. You know, we didn't have that growing up. It just wasn't there. So putting limits on that is probably a really good thing. You know, they need time to just sit around and be bored and think, and right. So any comments on that, on digital deluge? Is that a real problem where they just have too much coming in?
Yep. Didn't the book also said, Kris, that now the average person consumes as much data on a day as a person from like the 1400s or something like that consume in decades, right? Just because there's so much being shot at you and you're consuming so much, right? Like not only from a screen, but as you drive, right? There's so much coming at you that it's a lot at times to process as well.
It is, man. You forget. Sometimes I'll run across something and that will really catch my attention, and then I'll realize, oh man, I saw this like months ago. It went in and out. Anybody else have problems with deluge?
Hey, this is Jonathan. I hope my audio isn't too bad. I'm in the car driving from an appointment, but I really love that idea of taking like a 30-minute break just to let your mind just kind of reset. I think I've kind of caught myself like occupying free time with media, you know, whether I'm working or I'm doing, you know, any type of entertainment, it's always occupying my mind, and it never has some time to be idle. So I kind of love that idea, and I've brought that into my week this week, and I think it's going to be great, you know, in the long term.
Yes, absolutely. And that's our first challenge. Take a moment and schedule 30 minutes of white space in your calendar for this week. This is time to be spent away from technology, time dedicated to clear your mind, relax, and be creative. No music, no internet, no phone. Leave it there. Just chill, think. Okay? So that's our challenge for digital deluge. The next is digital distraction. Just as few of us have learned how to learn, not many know how to process and filter the massive amount of information we are constantly seeing. We just multitask to get all of it in, and this does not serve us well. Who has problems with getting distracted by digital items? I mean, for me, this is probably number one. Having my phone right here, it goes off 10,000 times a day, and I get off track all the time.
Yeah, I feel the same way, Kris. It's James, or JT. I've realized that last week I had to turn off my notifications for all my social media last week, and it was so freeing because you're just getting blown up all the time, and it just helps you get, you know, more dialed in your work process as well, at least for me anyway. So, yeah. I mean, just taking that little bit of break and just committing to that, it's helped a lot.
Right. Yeah, our team recently moved to Slack, and I had the notification on, and like, holy crap, man. We have a team of like, 7 people? Most of those messages aren't for me. So ding, 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 ding all day long. Yeah. So that is the quick start is go to the notification settings of your phone and turn off all unnecessary and distracting pings and dings. Do this now. I turned off my email years ago because, I mean, how many of those are important? Very few. We got a chat here. Stacy says this resonates with her. The distraction, turning these notifications off was a game changer for JT, and Slack will drive you crazy for sure, man. The next two, let me see if I had anything else on that one. Nope. Next is digital dementia. The notes that I took from this part, digital dementia is how we overuse a digital technology. Overuse of digital technology results in the breakdown of cognitive ability. The short-term memory pathways will start to deteriorate from underuse if we overuse technology. That was like a wow. Let's see. Our brain appears to strengthen a memory each time we recall it, and at the same time forget irrelevant memories that are distracting us. Forcing yourself to recall information instead of relying on an outside source to supply it for you is a way of creating and strengthening a permanent memory. Most of us have a habit of constantly looking up information, and our kids, I don't know about your kids, my kids, they look everything up. They never think. It seems like we're doing ourselves harm on that. Just as there is a physical price to always relying on technology of the elevator instead of taking the stairs, so is there a price for lazy mental muscles. Use it or lose it. Who's got a perspective on that? Digital dementia. Nobody has an opinion? All right, here we go. Quick start.
Kris, on digital dementia, right? I remember when I was a kid, I would know like 10, 15 different phone numbers, right? Now I can barely remember the phone number of my wife, right? Because everything is on the phone, right? So all you do is click on a picture, click on a name, right? And everything else is there for me. So, you know, just little things like that I realize I'm like, we rely so much on technology to do a lot of the thinking for us.
And it makes us lazy. I mean, think about, so the only reason I know my wife's number is because I met her, she had the number before I had a cell phone. So 100%, but yeah, like a lot, imagine this, guys. Imagine if you had to figure out what was 5 times 5 and you had to just look it up. Like, how stupid is that? Right. And that's what's happening to our kids. They don't want to learn. They don't, you know, even though maybe it was like, so I think some things are important to memorize, you know, where you just know it. You don't want to have to just look everything up. I don't know. It bugs me. Quick start. Take a minute to exercise your memory. Memorize the phone number of someone who you communicate with regularly. So everybody do that. And then I want to know, let me stop share real quick. I want you to raise your hand if you know the number of your grandma and grandpa from growing up. I do. I sure as hell do. Now it helps that it was only 7 numbers and not 10, but 100, right? Ty, are you raising your hand or you have a question? I think he's just raising his hand. All right. Let's, yeah, I mean, we all knew it. We knew everybody's number. Now we don't know anybody's number. So what are we remembering? We got to start working our brain. Next, the fourth horseman is digital deduction. Oh boy, this is a huge one. Everybody on Facebook, we're being fed our what we think. We're being told what to think. It's amazing. So the option, so deduction in amalgam, I don't know what that word is, of critical thinking, problem solving, and creativity that is essential skill for being limitless. It is being automated. So deduction, they're talking about the art of deduction is being automated for us. Extreme influences here is what I underlined. Extreme influences. We're going to technology and they're giving us our opinion. You know, they go to what we relate to, you know, and then all of a sudden that's what we turn to. How do you feel when someone tries to impose their thinking on you? If a family member, friend, or colleague came up to you and said, "Don't think that about this, here's your opinion," you would try to get away from that person as soon as you possibly could. Yet, when we immediately reach for the internet to provide us with the information, we're essentially inviting the same thing. Mm-hmm. Who thinks about that? Who agrees with that? Are we losing our own Our own thought? Are we losing that to technology?
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like nowadays. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Pat.
Yeah, just people nowadays, it's like you're always hooked on your phone, so you're having a conversation with someone, and they just look it up on their phone to like lyrics to a song or like a fact about something. It's never like, hey, turn your phone off, let's have a real conversation. But no, let me look it up, and it's really infuriating. It's not like a real conversation, and I don't like that. I hate it.
Right, Jonathan.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, so with that quick tip or whatever about that one, when I was reading the book, I was like, well, what major decisions do I have to make right now? And most of my decisions, or major decisions, have to like kind of involve my business. And I use Excel a lot to kind of make my decisions because it's based off the numbers. Excel has made my life so much easier. So I was kind of thinking like, well, how can I incorporate, this new lesson and get rid of this horseman in my life when I have a tool that makes my life so much easier, which is, a digital tool. So I just want to get your thoughts on that.
That's interesting. What do you guys think about that?
Well, I got something. It's JT again.
Go ahead, JT.
I was thinking about it a lot recently, just going over this book even. And a lot of us, I mean, if we think about we're the last kind of generation that knows what it's like to have to memorize phone numbers and things like that and didn't have digital things and platforms that we use. So we got to understand that they're just tools and they're leverage. They're not necessarily good or bad, but how we choose to use them is the game changer. I think that's what he's really getting across in this book, in my opinion. His communication has changed. It's never going back. This is just a new form of communication.
True.
So how do you make it optimized?
Paul, you got something?
I was going to say, for me, memory makes me money. For my example, my business, I have to memorize. I don't have to, but for me, it's made me money memorizing the prices of the products I'm buying from my vendors. A lot of my competition, they got to use their phones to pull up prices. And I'm like, you know what? I'll take that, and that. I'll take them all. And by the time the other person's too busy looking at the prices, I already know because I memorize it in my head. And so I'm getting smoking deals while other people are sitting there taking their sweet time and use their smartphone to be ahead, but they're behind.
Great.
I use it every day.
Yeah, great point, Paul. The same is true in my business. Like I'm in real estate, and so the Phoenix area, man, I know my values. You give me an address, a zip code, a specific neighborhood, I'll know pretty close to what it's worth, and I can estimate quickly rehab, and moving quick is how you make money in most businesses. So yeah, good point, Paul. Just having that in the top of your brain is good. Any other comments or anything on this topic before we move forward? I want everybody to vote.
Yeah, this is Bryce in Ohio. I don't think anything's happening to our memory. I think the problem is it's a misallocation of resources. So my daughter, for example, will complain about not being able to know certain things at school or whatever. But yet we were driving home one night and the song Fergalicious came on and she whipped off, every single lyric, throughout the entire song. And I said, it's obviously, it's not a memorization issue or a brain issue. It's you're misallocating what you're using your memory for.
Priority.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So that's kind of my take on it.
That's great, Bryce. Thank you for that. So everybody, I want you which of the 4 digital villains do you believe are currently most disrupting your performance, productivity, and peace of mind? Put it in the comments or shout it out. For me, it's 100% distraction number 1 and dementia number 2.
You have dementia?
What's that?
You said dementia?
Or wait, what did I say? Did I say dementia? Yeah, dementia, digital dementia.
Dementia.
We got distraction for Jonathan, distraction for Mike and Bruce and Bryce.
Distraction.
Looks like we got an issue with distraction. Working from home, distraction, 100%.
Yep.
All right, guys. Very good. Let's move on. One more. The human brain has 10 billion neurons, each neuron connected to 10,000 other neurons. Sitting on your shoulders is the most complicated object in the known universe. Dang. All right, let's move on to the last chapter. Number 3, your limitless brain. Your greatest superpower. Let's take a moment to acknowledge how extraordinary your brain is. It generates up to 70,000 thoughts per day. If you're my wife, you can double that. It races with the speed of the fastest car. It processes dramatically faster than any existing computer and has virtually infinite storage capacity. Our brains have the capacity for neuroplasticity. This was really interesting to me, which means that it can be changed and shaped by our actions and by our environments. Your brain is always changing and molding itself to your surroundings and the demands you place on it. Neuroplasticity, also referred to as brain plasticity, means that every time you learn something new, your brain makes a new synaptic connection. And each time this happens, your brain physically changes. It upgrades its hardware to reflect a new level of the mind. From the book, our brains are what separate us from the rest of the animal kingdom. Think about it. We can't fly. We aren't particularly strong or fast. We can't climb with the dexterity of some animals. We can't breathe underwater. As far as most physical functions are concerned, we're just average. But because of the power of our brains, we are overwhelmingly Earth's most dominant species. Bottom line, plasticity means that your learning and indeed your life is not fixed. You can be, do, have, and share anything when you optimize and rewire your brain. There are no limitations when you align and apply the right mindset, motivation, and methods. Next, it moves into your second brain. You are not limited to just one brain. You have a second, your gut. Have you ever had a gut feeling, that moment when you just knew? If you've ever gone with your gut to make a decision or felt butterflies in your stomach, did you ever wonder why that was? Hidden in the walls of the digestive system, this is brain in your gut. It is revolutionizing medicine's understanding of the links between digestion, mood, health, and even the way you think. So now another reason to eat better. It affects your brain. All of this is to say that you have the ultimate superpower between your ears. You also have the ability to hone that superpower and make it greater or let it falter and decay. You get to decide what kind of environment your superpower lives in, one that supports your mission in life or one that distracts you from your greatest dreams. The elusive obvious. Give a person an idea and you enrich their day. Teach a person to learn and they can enrich their life. Isn't that a fishing thing?
Yeah, that's like a fishing quote, right? You teach a man how to fish per day, and you feed him for a lifetime, something like that.
Absolutely. School's a great place to learn. There, we're taught what to learn, what to think, and what to remember. But there are a few, if any, classes on how to learn, how to think, and how to remember. Has anybody ever done this? I mean, I know there are courses and stuff on how to learn. Has anybody taken one?
I've just been following Jim Kwik's courses. It's like his 10-day Kwik program. So it's just like principles, fast, like acronyms. So yeah, how to learn. But I haven't been on it. But it's pretty nice.
Yeah, I wish I would have taken a class like that 20 years ago.
Yeah, there's a guy out there. There's a guy out there that has a speed. I think it's a speed reading course called the Superhuman Academy. Superhumanacademy.com. I'm halfway through his book, which is called The Only Skill That Matters, which I think, and he refers to several things that Jim Kwik says. So I think it's kind of possibly a dual.
The Only Skill That Matters?
Yes, yeah.
Thank you. Write that down and order it. Okay. A limitless mind can offer you and others added values. Applied knowledge is not just power, it's profit. That's what we were just talking about, right? Your ability to think, solve problems, make the right decisions, create, innovate, and imagine is how we add value. The faster you can learn, the faster you can earn. Let's see. See if I had any notes. We talked about neuroplasticity, how it molds. We talked about that. It's totally normal to have memory lapse. We're human, not robots. But if we respond to this lapse in memory with the attitude that I have a bad memory or I'm not smart enough to remember this, then we negatively affect our ability to learn and grow. In other words, the belief that we might develop in response to forgetting does far more damage than the lapse in memory. Guys, the belief that we might develop in response to forgetting does far more damage than the lapse in memory. That kind of self-talk reinforces a limiting belief. Wow. Self-talk reinforces a limiting belief. I hope you're hearing this.
That's good.
Yeah, rather than acknowledging the mistake and reacquiring the information. So that's crazy. Why do we do that to ourselves? With a few simple changes to something you like, your environment, your food, or exercise, you can dramatically change the way your brain functions. Woo. Let's see.
I got a really cool example of that, Kris. My brother, when we were growing up, kind of dating myself, but I'm 37, and when we were in elementary school, that hooked on phonics thing was like a big thing. I don't know if some of you guys remember that.
Hooked on phonics.
Yeah, hooked on phonics, yeah. And my brother always had a harder time with reading than I did. And it was just, he took it in his head that, hey, I have this disability of dyslexia. And I knew I had it to myself as well, but I always thought in my head it wasn't that bad and it was something I could overcome. So my brother all the way through high school had a horrible time of reading, and now he's finally getting into books. But he's in his 30s now, and it put him so far back and killed a lot of his confidence and a lot of his workload of things like that. You know what I mean? And for me, I was always like, well, I'll just get through it. I didn't look at it as, you know, this was like permanent and this is who I was. It was just something I had to get over. And just coming to a realization, you know, going through this book that, man, how my life would have been different if I said I couldn't do that, or this is me, you know? Great. So that self-talk is just huge.
Yeah, great point. Self-talk, man, it's huge. I love the story by Jim Rohn. He talks about there was a funeral, you know, there were two brothers, and they were both at the funeral of their father, and their father was just a horrible human being. He was a drunk, he was a loser, and you know, the one brother was also a drunk and a loser, and they asked him, like, what happened? Why are you like this? And he's like, my dad was like this, you know, what else would you expect? And then they asked the other brother, who was success, you know, why'd you do that? He's like, well, because my dad was a drunk. So you know, that's the last thing that I ever wanted to be. So you can accept it or you can reject it. No matter what comes into your life, it's all about how you, it's how you, it's not what happens in your life, it's how you react to it, right?
Yes.
So,
yeah, it's so true.
Good stuff. A little bit on the second brain. The brain-gut connection. The gut has an outsized effect on the way our brain functions. One can liken it to the way a tree functions. As a tree's roots are underground, drawing up vital nutrients and water, the same nutrients are brought up to the body of the tree, fortifying and building the trunk and giving the tree what it needs to sprout new leaves in each spring, which then in turn gather light, another energy source. In the same way, the nutrients that we take in are absorbed through our intestines. So it's the exact same way. What we have from the inside produces what we have on the outside.
It's awesome.
When you have a gut feeling that something isn't right, or conversely that you should follow a hunch, it's not just superstition. Your gut has its own way of interpreting events and giving your brain signals. I think women have a better gut than guys do. Or maybe we just ignore our gut a little more.
For sure.
You're right, Kris.
We've entered an expert economy in which the brain power trumps brute strength, where what you have between your ears is your greatest wealth creating asset. There are those who know and those who don't know. And that applied knowledge is not just power, it's profit. Your ability to think, solve problems, make the right decisions, create, innovate, and imagine is how we add value. The faster you can learn, the faster you can earn. That one screw made all the difference. You know what? Why don't we, let me read this real quick. I know we're running a little on time, but for those of you that didn't read the book and for those of you who have never heard the story before. Let's see. One day at a power plant, everything comes to an abrupt halt. All the machines go off. The silence is deafening. The people running the plant are frantic, and after hours and hours, none of the workers can track down the problem. The head of operations is desperate at this point, so he calls the best local help that he can find. The expert technician arrives and glances around the facility. He goes to one of the numerous beams along all the electrical boxes, opens one of them, and stares at the various screws and wires inside. He turns one screw, and like magic, everything starts working again, and the plant comes back to life. The head of operations is so relieved. He thanks the technicians and asks them, "What do I owe you?" The technician says, $10,000. You were only here for a few minutes. What do you mean $10,000? You turned one single screw. Anybody could have done that. I need an itemized bill. So the technician reaches into his pocket, pulls out a notepad, and gives it to the head foreman, who then he just promptly pays them right away. And what did it say? Turning this, the bill read, turning the screw, $1. Knowing which screw to turn, $9,999.
That was a powerful story. I love that.
It's what you know. All right, let's move on to the last chapter. The book, Ty was asking, what's the book called? It's called The Only Skill That Matters, from Bryce. Thanks for sharing that, Bryce. All right. All right, the forgetting curve. It's the mathematical formula that describes the rate at which information is forgotten after it is initially heard. Research suggests that our natural ability to concentrate wanes between 10 and 40 minutes. If we spend any longer on a given task, we get diminishing returns on our investment because of time, because our attention starts to wander. Based on the idea that the optimal time for a task is 25 minutes, followed by a 5-minute break. Each 25-minute chunk is called Pomodoro. And you know what, guys? If you ever want to write a book, write it in 25-minute chunks, and I bet you will have success. So every now and then a man's mind is stretched by a new idea or sensation, and it never shrinks back to its former dimension. The FASTER method. Here's a simple method for learning anything quickly. The acronym FASTER stands for forget, act, state, teach, enter, review. The F is for forget. The key to laser focus is to remove or forget that which distracts you. There are 3 things you want to forget, at least temporarily. What you already know, what's not urgent or important, limitations. The A stands for act. Traditional education has trained many people that learning is a passive experience, but learning is not a spectator sport. The more active you are, the better, faster, and more you will learn. I think we've all done this in school. You know, when you're actively participating, you learn it more. My kid had a great example. He did a study on, you know, in school, you always have to pick a state or a country. He did Indiana. And he learned, he just immersed himself in it. Now he knows all these stupid ass things about Indiana. He actually wants to go to Indiana, if you can believe it. So amazing. Me too. I'm sure you guys had it. Mine was Norway, right? Norway was my country when I was in like 5th grade. And now I got a thing for Norway. It's weird. S is for state. All learning is state dependent. Oh, this is big. It's highly influenced by your thoughts and your physical condition of your body. Information times emotion helps create long-term memories. The opposite is also true. Consciously choosing states of joy, fascination, and curiosity. T is for teach. If you want to cut your learning curve dramatically, learn with the intention of teaching the information to get someone else. When you teach something, you get to learn it twice. Once on your own and then once through educating another person. This is exactly why I run this book club, because I want to know the books. Go ahead.
Thank you, Kris.
Yeah, man. I mean, this is helping me so much. I'm not only have I have to read it for one time, I have to read it a second time. And when I read it the second time, I listen to it and I read it and I review and take notes. Like, this shit's immersed in me now instead of just reading it one time. That's how I got to know cash flow so good. Like, I listened to Rich Dad Poor Dad and Cash Flow Quadrant in my car. Like, I've listened to those books, I would say at least like 15 times each minimum. So after a while, it's just
engraved in your head,
in my brain.
Yep.
E is for enter. What is the simplest and most powerful personal performance tool? Your calendar. Oh man, I hope you guys are using a calendar. I don't use mine enough, but I definitely use it. Do you know what a lot of people don't schedule? Their personal growth and development. It's not on your calendar, then there's a good chance it's not getting done. It's too easy for the day to slip by without you forgetting to work out your body and brain. Guys, who's guilty? Especially like with like working out. If I don't put it on my calendar, there's a pretty good chance it's not going to happen. If I don't time block, that's why I started time blocking for my kids. I started time blocking for my family. Because then when somebody says, can you do this at this time? Well, no, I have an appointment. And, you know, even if the time is by yourself. I mean, I have right here, every Friday, weekly review and planning. So I can review my week and plan for next week. Sets you ahead. R is for review. One of the best ways to reduce the efforts of the forgetting curve is to actively recall what you learned with spaced repetition. You are better able to retain information by reviewing in multiple spread out sessions. The French philosopher noted, life is C between B and D, meaning that the life we live is the choices we make between birth and death. Being limitless is a choice, and that choice is entirely yours regardless of your circumstances. All right, we got some work to do. Write down your commitment to complete this book, because when we write something down, we're more likely to do what we promise. The questions are the answer. The human mind is always generalizing in order to make sense of the world. Here, there, and everywhere, we can find evidence to confirm our beliefs. Thinking is a process of reasoning through something during which we ask and answer questions. Next, prepare your mind. Questions direct your focus, so they play into everything in life, even reading comprehension. Here are the 3 dominant questions to ask on our journey together. They will help you take action on what you learn and turn the knowledge into power. So when you're learning something, how can I use this? Why must I use this? And when will I use this? Okay. There we go. Quick little reminder, we will be reading next week. I still want to discuss this chapter, but just a quick little reminder here before I forget. We have people to help you. We have our mastermind group. We have our book club, Leveling Up Virtual Solutions. Reach out to Jordan if you have any questions about that. We provide virtual assistance for you to make your businesses run better. What do you guys think about this last chapter? Faster. What's your favorite part of that?
I'll say mine is the forget, the first step, you know, like forgetting that negative stuff, forgetting that bad stuff, the stuff that's unuseful or that you don't need at the time. I think that's a hard part for me, and I waste a lot of brain power and energy on stuff that's not applicable at the time.
For sure, for sure. Anybody else want to? How about
Yeah, I
A
really
for
like
act? I think people don't take action enough. Too many people just
Yeah,
think.
that's one thing that book is taking action. I guess like for me at least, I get really comfortable. When you're in a comfortable state, it's hard to take action. It's uncomfortable with being comfortable. It's hard for me to get uncomfortable. There you go. That's all right. But I'm working on it. Is you want to reach to level of success, you have to you gotta get uncomfortable. That's plain and simple. So like making 10 sales calls, reading that book, so is gotta do it.
Yeah.
So on that, when you're ready to make those calls, when you're ready to do whatever you need to do, how important is state? Right? If you're feeling passive, if you're feeling, are you going to be great on the phone? Or if you're pumped up, highly caffeinated?
Yeah.
Right? State's a big one. T for teach. Anybody do this? Anybody teach in order to learn?
Yeah, that was probably my favorite one, but it's also kind of conflicting for me because I've kind of made a name for myself in the local Houston market. So I get a ton of text messages and direct messages and all that. And a lot of folks getting into the business they have questions. So I enjoy being able to teach them because it's kind of reinforcing my learning, but it's also like, man, it's a time suck.
It is.
Spending so much time on somebody else's business versus my own. So I've been trying to balance the two. But no, I definitely know that when I'm having conversations about, topics that, that I'm passionate about, it kind of reinforces my understanding of it. So yeah, that's definitely a good one.
So slight suggestion, yeah, because I'm the same way. People will hit you at random. Plus, I'm a mentor in a group of about 700 real estate investors, and so I'll get a lot of random stuff. But so maybe setting up a Q&A session, you know what I mean, for your people to say, hey, this Thursday at 4, I'm gonna answer everybody's questions. So just drop it, and then spend an hour on everybody, and then funnel it all to that, so you don't have to. Because yeah, man, we get so distracted. Well, you'll take that and you want to help them, but in the meantime, you've stopped what you were doing, and starting back up can be difficult.
Definitely. That's a good idea.
How about reviews? Anybody go through? So I'm bad with this. I love taking notes, and I think it's because it connects what I'm learning. When I write it down, it's a little more, but I never go review. Very, very rarely do I go back and review my notes. What do you guys think on that?
Same thing, man. I have to really put a notation on something to go back and review, because I have books and books and notes, and it's just like, oh yeah, I did learn that before, or I did go over this before, and I didn't review it. You know what I mean? So what good is it? So now I'm trying to schedule a time in a calendar, a month away, some arbitrary date, so it pops up on my screen, and then I'll go check it out, what I want to look at that time.
Good stuff. Bryce, you want to add to that?
So, yeah, I mean, my problem is organization. So I do the same sort of thing where I take notes but I don't know if it's ADD or whatever, but I move on to the next thing. And then we'll realize, or we'll forget kind of what I had learned previously. One of the things I don't know if you guys have a problem with this, but I'll go through my phone and I'll realize I have 100 tabs open on my internet, and as I'm going through it, I'm like, oh, I forgot I was going to try to implement this, or, oh, I forgot I was going to try to implement that. So I need to figure out some sort of strategy to keep track of those sorts of things.
How many people have 100 tabs open in their brain? Anybody else want to comment on this last chapter on faster? Okay, so good stuff, guys. So next Friday, we are reading part 2. This is going to be good. This is where we're going to start getting into the good parts and stuff that we can really implement into our lives. Part 2, let's see. This is kind of short, actually. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to assume it's short for a reason, and there's going to be a lot of good content. So let's just roll with it. Part 2, chapters 5 and 6 for tomorrow or for next Friday. That'll give everybody else who's here time to read all 6 chapters and get caught up. We had some assignments. Let's see what those were. Let's see, what do we have? Where were they at? Quick start. We talked about that. Quick start. I thought we had one. Where was it at? You guys remember what it was? Here, let me just go back to the book real quick. Okay, so we had the 30 minutes of silence, white time, right? White noise. So for 30 minutes a day, I want you to time block into your calendar 30 minutes and leave your phone at home and no technology, no TV, no nothing. That is the first one.
Would a nap count?
What's that?
So taking a nap count on that one?
Hey, if that helps your brain. A lot of us need naps. Naps are good, maybe. The second one, go to your notification settings on your phone and turn off all unnecessary and distracting pings and dings. Do this now. Take a minute to exercise your memory. Memorize the phone number of someone you communicate with regularly. So we all got to do that. I'm going to make you rattle it off.
Hey, Kris, does your own number count for that?
No cheating. Let's see. This is for learning better. Set a timer for 25 minutes right now and concentrate on what you're reading in this book for that amount of time. When your alarm goes off, bookmark this book and close it, then write down what you learned within that 25-minute period. As you're reading the book, when your mind inevitably wanders into something else, and that something else is important but not urgent, try not to think about it. When you resist, what you resist persists. Instead, keep a notebook close by to capture that thought or idea by writing it down. Oh my God, I'm going to do this one because I have this problem all the time. I'll be reading or listening and something pop in my head and then it'll just keep coming back. So just write it so it can go away. And then don't be afraid to just turn it off. Like sometimes I'm just trying to get through a book and my mind's not there. Turn it off, throw on some music, something you don't have to actually use your brain on.
And that was a good point about taking or reviewing too, because the same thing happens to me. And then I'll go through like my notes on my phone. I'm like, wow, those were really good ideas I had way back when. And I'd completely forgotten because a book or a podcast had sparked an idea. So I wrote down the idea and then I never went back to review it. And so it was something I never acted on.
Right. Do the same thing, Bryce.
Yeah. So maybe review and then calendar it. Put it out there in the future. Stacy says, I keep notes on everything, most times rewriting them. And then when I write what I learn, so paper everywhere around my house. So I had that same issue, Stacy, and I've really just made an effort to throw everything in my little notebook. So fill these babies up. And then they're a lot easier to review. And then I don't have crazy paper everywhere. Ty says, recall, review, and conquer. Plan what is next. 30-minute time block. And time flies by. Yeah, it sure does fly by. All right. Anybody got anything else? We know what our assignment is. We know what our tasks are. And we're going to all be here next Friday at 10. Awesome, guys. Thanks for showing up. Talk to you next week.
Yep.
Thanks, Kris.
What was the assignment again?
Part 2, chapters 5 and 6.
5 and 6?
Yep.
Awesome.
See you next week.
All right, hit me up if you need
guys.
me. Otherwise, I'll see you all then.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Kris. Later.